in this video, we're going to learn how to divide complex numbers. Okay, we're going to learn how to divide complex numbers. Let me see if I can get this a little bit easier for you guys to see. Okay, so we're going to divide complex numbers. So to find the quotient of complex numbers, we have to do something that's called rationalize the denominator. Okay, now that's just a fancy way of saying we need to figure out what the conjugate of the denominator is, the complex conjugate, and then we're going to multiply both the top and the bottom by that. Okay, so what is the complex conjugate of 1 plus 5i? That's what you need to ask yourself. Well, the complex conjugate of 1 plus 5i is 1 minus 5i. Remember, you changed that plus to a minus. Okay, so then you multiply both the top and the bottom by that. So now 3 plus 2i times that 1 minus 5i. And we're also going to do 1 plus 5i times that complex conjugate, 1 minus 5i. Okay? All right, now, if you want to do the box method, I'm going to do it on the top first. So I'm going to do it right here where you can see what I'm doing. All right, so I've got 3 plus 2i and 1 minus 5i. Okay, let's see what we get. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times negative 5i is negative 15i. 2i times 1 would be a plus 2i. And then 2i times negative 5i would be a negative 10i squared. Okay, now, this time I've got negative 15i plus 2i. So that means that I can put those two together. Negative 15 plus 2 is a negative 13i. So I'm going to write that there. Negative 13i. And I've taken care of those two. All right, now, I squared is negative 1. So I can replace that I squared with a negative 1. Well, negative 10 times negative 1 is just 10. And then I've got this 3 up here. So 10 plus that 3 makes that 13. So I've got negative 13i plus 13. Now remember, and we're going to fix this in a minute, but we need to put the imaginary part on the end and the real number part at the first, okay? But we'll do that in a minute. All right, now let's multiply this. Now hopefully you're recognizing that these are conjugates, so you're going to end up with a real number that is positive, and that's what you want to happen. So let's do our box method. 1 plus 5i and 1 minus 5i. All right, 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times negative 5i is negative 5i. 5i times 1 is a positive 5i. And 5i times negative 5i would be a negative 25i squared. Okay, plus 5i minus 5i. That's 0. They cancel out. They're gone. Then down here, I've got negative 25, and your I squared is negative 1. So then negative 25 times negative 1 is a positive 25. And I've still got this 1 up here. So 25 plus 1, and I'll write that here. 25 plus 1, that equals 26. Now I'm going to go ahead and write this now as my real number part, which is 13, and then my imaginary, which is minus 13i. Now, once you get to this point, if you can simplify, you need to do that. So 13 will go into all of these numbers. So in other words, what that means is I'm going to have 1 minus I, because 13 goes into 13 once, and 13 goes into 13 once, but if it's in front of the I don't have to put it. And 13 goes into 26 twice. Now, sometimes they will separate this and make this 1/2 minus 1/2 I. I would accept this answer right here, but just know that on a standardized test or possibly your end of course test, they would separate it and make it this way, okay? They could do either one. So I wanted you to see what they could do. All right, if you have questions about the complex conjugate or dividing complex numbers, let me know.